them may say it's not the best, right? But I promise by the end of this, you'll have more insight on how you can get through this hiring climate, how you can actually land a job. Yeah. Okay. So let's just talk a little bit about me. I'm Ramel Bailey. I'm a software engineer at Amazon. And for the last few years of my life, I've really been blessed to be able to work on software that's been able to impact millions of people, right? It's something that I'm passionate about. I'm happy I've had the opportunity to do that. Um, Building features that impact so many people, like it's something that's really rewarding, right? In my experience, I've worked at Amazon, I worked at NCR, um, GE, American Express, and I've interviewed or gotten offers from other companies too, like Microsoft and Facebook and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of a little background about me. Also, I created FiJump because I wanted to help people, right? I wanted to support as many people as I could throughout the process of landing a job in tech. And what I'm actually most proud of is being able to work with over 100 people and like early career professionals in as far as hosting workshops, giving advice, and helping people prep for their careers into technology, right? So this year, I worked with a few different people, and a few of those people they landed jobs, they landed full-time offers in software engineering, and they're making great money right now. So I'm super excited for them. Actually, one of the guys that I was working with, he continues to get offers. So he just got another offer that, the money kind of keeps going up. So I'm like extremely proud of him and excited for him. Welcome to this masterclass on getting a software engineering job or a job in tech, right? And it's great to meet all of you that are here. We have, so I can't say everybody's names, but Arjun, Crystal, D, Dinesh, Jesus, Marco, Kashab, Nadine, Nan, everybody on this call. Like, I appreciate you guys for joining. And the goal is to give you guys as much value as possible over this next hour. So thanks. Okay, cool. Landing a job. Yes. So I know everybody's here, right? Because they want to get the roadmap. They want to know, right? How do I actually land a job in tech, right? Right here, right now, I know most people have heard like the market is rough. That is literally all we see, right? Especially for entry level in tech, you see companies doing layoffs. You see people who have been searching for a very long time, people getting a lot of rejections. I've talked to a lot of early career candidates personally, and I've heard their take on how difficult it is to get a job right now and some of the issues, some of the rejections that they're facing. Um, but I always say, right, there are people that are still getting offers. I've worked with some of those people as well. I've helped different people who have been able to get offers, even in this climate. And once upon a time, right, when I was first looking for my job, I struggled extremely. Like it was rough, right? I got over 100 rejections myself. I failed so many interviews myself. And this was before COVID. This was before the layoffs. This is when the economy was like really good, right? I was struggling, right? So a lot of the experiences that people are going through, I've seen how it is, and I've seen how you can actually go about turning that around and flipping the script on that, right? So yeah, there's layoffs and the climate is harder, right? But people are still getting jobs. I promise you, right? Top candidates, they're still getting jobs, they're still getting offers. It might be less, but there's still enough, and there's enough jobs to go around, right? So don't worry about that. There's enough jobs to go around. Um, and yeah. So we could talk a little about motivation too, right? I'm assuming a lot of you here are motivated because you want to work on technology that is going to impact a whole bunch of people and maybe be part of like building the future of like AI or software or something, right? Maybe you always saw yourself as a software developer. You wanted to, do something related to technology and building products and services that people are going to use, right? Or like maybe some people might be here for the benefits and the money. Might be why they want to get into software. um, because they heard there's good benefits, there's good money. Hey, that's good. That's good motivation too, right? Whatever motivates you, it works for me. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of hop into my biggest advice for landing a job, right? I kind of break it down into something kind of simple, kind of straightforward, right? Not everything is as complicated as we think, right? So here are my steps to landing a software job, right? You got to be what they want, be where they are, communicate it well, having a strategy, having a strategy that works, organizing the entire process to getting a job, right? I know this looks like extremely simple. It's like, yo, this is like 5 things or so, right? Um, I'm gonna break down each point here, right? But yeah, if you guys want to write that down, do write that down because this is literally like the process, right? When I say be what they want, I'm talking about companies. I'm talking about the people who are hiring, right? Being what they want, being what they're looking for. That's who they is. They is the company themselves, it's the recruiters, it's the people that are making the hiring decision. So yeah, be what they want, be where they are, communicate it well, communicate your value add well, have a strategy, and organize the process. Right? Cool. Cool. We're gonna dive into that because obviously you're like, okay. We're gonna dive into that. So let's start off with being what they want, right? What does that mean? Who is they? Who is they? They are the people that are making the hiring decision, right? Every job post, every job description that you see, right? I always tell people, I'm like, you're not being hired by a robot, right? There's literally a human being who literally posted this job online and they literally have an actual need, an actual want. So there's literally a person, just like there's a person on the other side of every application, there's a person on the other side of every job description. And that person is the one making a hiring decision, right? Maybe there's a lot of, automation that happens in the process of selection, but there's somebody who gets to say, at the end of the day, they get to say yay or nay, right? These people they're hiring managers, they're recruiters, they're groups of employees. These are the people that actually make the decision of who we want to hire. And your job, if you want to land a job, you have to prove to these people that you're worth them bringing on, right? You have to prove to them that you're gonna bring enough value to their company, to their team, that you're worth hiring, right? And they're not gonna hire somebody that they're not confident in because for them it would be a waste. It would be a waste of a hire, it would be a waste of their time, right? They're only gonna hire someone who they know and who they believe is confident in doing the job and gonna fit in with them, right? So generally, what does that mean? For them to find somebody confident, it generally means that you need to have the experience that they're looking for, right? If they want somebody who uh, knows a certain programming language, then generally they want to hire somebody who knows that specific programming language, who has that experience in that and can prove it, right? You can speak on it, you can prove it in interviews, you can maybe give them an example, you can show them code you've worked on, you have evidence of it. Or, right, if you don't have the experience specifically that they're looking for, you can they believe that you can add that value, right? They believe that you can still learn it and learn to add value. What's an example of that, right? Maybe a student who did extremely well in school, right? Maybe you went to an extremely difficult or challenging school or top university, and maybe you don't have exactly what they need, but they believe you have the ability to learn. They believe you have a high capacity for retaining knowledge and being able to work in high pressure, high stress environments and excel, right? Boom. Somebody like that may still get a job, right? Yeah. So the one thing you should also know, right? if you have to convince them, if you have to give them confidence that you can do the job, right? If you are struggling to actually convince the decision makers to give you a job, if you're struggling to show that to prove to them that you're going to provide value, right? You're definitely not going to get the job. That's just how it works, right? When you can show them you're the best candidate for the job, um, you're going to get it, right? That's 9 out of 10 times. If you can show you're the best person for the job, you will get it. And what does that mean? Okay, cool. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so yeah, again, the hiring decisions, they're the managers, they're the recruiters, they're groups of employees. The reason we say groups of employees is because there are some companies where it's not one person who makes the decision on whether you get the job or not. There's some companies where it's literally everybody that interviews you has to say, yes, I like this person, I like John, right? They all have to come to an agreement that you're a good candidate. Okay. So let's let's go through this whole process of understanding how how a job post is posted for an entry level job, right? We're gonna create a whole scene and imagine that scene, right? I've already said that every entry level job is like a critical job, but there's limited jobs, right? I already said that. So imagine the scene, right? So imagine you have a company that's building a new platform and they're going to be in the marketplace for selling pet products, right? They learn that this is going to be the next billion-dollar company. And they're like, cool, we want to sell pet products, all kinds of pet products, right? And a bunch of executives come together and they kind of plan it out. And they start off by hiring a team of experienced engineers to start building on this web platform, this marketplace platform that they're selling on, right? And they're gonna work in, just to make it simple, right? They're gonna work in JavaScript, React, and Java and AWS, right? They're using some of the latest technologies to build this whole platform. They start hiring experienced engineers because they want to make sure that they do the right planning and they are able to, get to a starting point. So after they hired more experienced engineers, right? Maybe 5+ years of experience, um, then they might realize, oh, okay, well, we have other tasks that we need to get done too. And for this, we actually can hire entry level people, right? We need a good bit of entry level people. We want to develop talent, right? We want to save money and we want to develop talent. Okay. And then they decided they need to make job descriptions. And in these job descriptions, they need people who actually understand the technology that the software is built in, right? So it was built in JavaScript and React and Java and AWS. So they're like, okay, well, yeah, we need somebody who has experience with that. And then they make that job description and they release it to the public and people start applying. And then you have a candidate, we're going to call him candidate A. He applies with his resume, and his resume says he had experience working in retail, right? And that candidate is most likely going to get rejected pretty quickly because they don't show that they have the ability to do the job well versus someone else who has more relevant experience that shows that he has experience, doing JavaScript, doing React, doing things that they actually need, right? And the reason you should understand that process is because, again, there's a person behind every job description, every job post that you see. It is not a robot, right? It's not, there's a person behind. There's a robot that helps automate the process, but it's not a robot. Okay, cool. So just in that simple process, you already know, like, okay, if they need this, if they need somebody who has an experience or understanding of this, I'm going to be one of those people that has experience in that. I'm going to make sure my resume says that. I'm going to make sure whenever I talk to anybody at the company, I talk about all my experience that is relevant to what they need, right? And that is kind of a high level perspective on being what they need, right? It's understanding what they need and then adapting yourself to being whatever they need, right? We're gonna go into more details on that. Um, yeah. So again, the process, going through the whole process of hiring a candidate, right? One, the team is working on some project. Two, they need to hire more entry-level tech workers, right? They have some project going on, need more people, they need help, need help. And specifically, when they're hiring somebody, they need somebody to solve a problem, right? So maybe they planned out that they need to hire more people, but there's certain things they still haven't thought about. There's certain things they haven't figured out, right? So they need people to help solve a problem. That's what engineers do, solve a problem. Put the job description together to solve some of the basic things they need, and then they start searching for candidates, and they're gonna choose to bring the best candidates forward that actually fit what they need. Okay, cool. The best candidates forward, right? So that's why sometimes when we see rejections, if we apply to a job and like maybe there's an immediate rejection, there could be a few reasons why, right? Maybe the position is already full, or they're not accepting more applications, right? Maybe it was an old job post. Okay, that's normal. Maybe um the candidate wasn't best fit for the, or we're not even gonna say that yet, but maybe the job, the actual resume itself wasn't formatted properly, right? A lot of people, their resumes are not formatted for ATS systems. And because of that, it can't scan it properly, right? You put your resume in the system, you upload it, it's not scanned properly, and they're not actually able to get an accurate depiction on all your skills, right? You could have been the perfect person. They just don't know because it's a robot making that decision. Or the last one is maybe the resume just doesn't prove that you have the skill sets and abilities that they're looking for, right? Maybe you have stuff they're not looking for. So those are all things you can work on, right? We can fix all of those things. Okay, cool. Be what they want, right? So let's talk up, let's continue on that path of being what companies want to hire, being somebody who's a top candidate that they want to bring into their company, right? Generally, companies want to hire somebody with experience. People always talk about, oh, there's that, how do I get experience if I don't have experience, right? The reality is that's what companies want. Yeah, they number one, the number one option, they always want somebody who has an experience. However, that's not the only way to get a job, right? You don't need experience solely. You don't need that kind of experience, right? There's more than one way to have experience, right? But full-time jobs, internships is definitely a really good one. But also projects, right? Being working on projects that are relevant to whatever they're doing are helpful, right? So if this company wants people with experience in JavaScript and React, if you did a whole bunch of classwork where you worked on projects and assignments and you have multiple tasks that you did in JavaScript and React, you might be the perfect person just because you've built different projects that deal with that already, right? That is experience. Projects are experience, right? If you ever, I don't know if anybody's ever worked a job where you kind of like maybe like you were like a cashier or something, right? And they're like, okay, you start at 7 a.m. and you end at 7 p.m. And during that time, you pretty much work, they judge how you performed or whatever based on you working all of those hours. Did you do your job? Did you ring people up from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or whatever the math on that is, right? Did you do that? When you actually work in a corporate job in technology, you're judged based on the projects that you completed, right? So they say, hey, we need to get this done. We need you to have this code ready in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, have this code working. Or in 2 weeks, have this code working, right? So when you actually get a job in software engineering, you work on projects. So that's why projects that you work on as your experience, projects from classwork, projects from hackathons, projects from anything are relevant because that's what you do on the job. Okay, let me get back to this. All right, the more closely your skills align with what the company's looking for, it makes you a way better match, right? You have to find a way to tie in your experiences into what they're looking for. And I promise you, it's something that a lot of you can do. Everybody can do. And then companies, they're going to put you in the process. Companies, they put people in a process to remove people that are not a good fit, right? So they're going to weed out people who don't match. Okay, cool. And then what is the recruiting process? The recruiting process, again, companies put you in the recruiting process to take out people who do not align with what they are looking for, right? And then the recruiting process is just a series of tests. It's just a series of tests. I said earlier, a company will hire someone that they're confident about, right? They're going to hire somebody they know, okay, this person can do the job. I believe in this person. I'm confident this person can do the job. Well, how do you build a level of confidence? You give them tests. Test one is having a solid resume, having a solid application, right? They're assuming, okay, well, if you failed this test of having a solid resume, we're not going to move you forward, right? Because they're trying to weed people out, right? So do you meet this? Does your resume meet the basic requirements for a job? Do you meet more, right? Are you extremely like one of the top people based on your resume? Um, are you showing you're making impact? Are you showing that you take initiative in the experience that you have had, right? Do you pass the ATS system, which we talked about before? And then they're gonna test your technical knowledge, right? When you're doing coding assessments, are you passing these coding assessments? Do you have they're gonna have more confidence in you the better you perform in these assessments. If you're doing a software job and you're solving a lot of software problems correctly, it means okay, you're strong. You're strong at programming, you're strong at coding. That's just what it tells them, right? If you have a strong ability to like problem solve and make decisions, it shows them that you know how to be an engineer, right? That's how that works. Then behavioral interviews, another test. They want to hear about the impact that you've had in your different experiences and how you take initiative and get things done, right? They want to know, do you fit in with the culture? Do you have the do you appreciate what they do in the company, right? And match their energy. And then are you actually passionate for working in that role, right? One of the things people don't know and they don't really understand is the fact that you, as an entry level candidate, there's something that you have that experienced people don't, and it gives you an advantage, and that is coachability. People who are hiring, they love working with people who are coachable. Coachable means somebody that knows how to listen, somebody that knows how to take instructions and can do things in the way that they ask him to do it, right? So I've talked to different recruiters and hiring managers, and what I've learned is that from recruiters and hiring managers, they like working with entry level people because if they'll tell an entry level person, hey, go and do it this way, right? There's so many ways you can do it. I want you to go and I want you to do it this way. This is how I want you to do it. And the entry level person, they're gonna do it. They're gonna listen generally, right? They have coachability. Maybe they've never done it before. Maybe they don't know any other way. Versus somebody experienced, sometimes people can be stuck in their ways. They can have been doing things one way for so long that they don't want to change, right? So that is a huge advantage you have. Um, and then just showing initiative and being hungry, showing how in any environment you're in, you are able to make change and get things done is huge. Okay. So technical coding interviews. How do you get good at technical coding interviews? The reality is you do a lot of technical coding interviews. Practice is going to make perfect. And honestly, that is the truth. I had a friend of mine who's incredible at technical coding interviews. I remember he didn't even study in the beginning. He did, he was a computer science major, but besides his like schoolwork and understanding of computer science, all his practice was from actual interviews. He was just like, I'm just gonna go and do a bunch of interviews at companies I don't really care about, and I'm gonna get good doing interviews. I'm not gonna do a lot of mocks. I'm not gonna do practice. And it worked. He got a job at a tech company and he got his prep from doing actual interviews, right? It put him under real intense pressure. Same thing with mock interviews. Doing mock coding interviews with somebody, working with somebody, is going to help you get to that point where you can actually be prepared for how an actual interview is going to be, right? You're going to have that stamina and know how to do it, right? Makes it easy. Got to have a really strong understanding of data structures and algorithms to be good. You need to know design patterns. You need to know a lot of this stuff. Leak code. I know a lot of people have heard about leak code. I am, you have to do leak code. I will admit you have to do leak code, but the reality is you only really need to do 75 questions, right? There's something called blind 75. It's 75 questions that make up everything that you need. That's all you need. And to be honest, most entry-level jobs, you probably only need about 25, right? When I was initially studying, I did about 25. But it was 25 that I understood extremely well. And I was able to use that and land many offers off of having a deep understanding and solving practice with about 25 questions. Right. That's something we could talk about later. Um, yeah, and then in interviews, if you're showing that you know how to problem solve, you know how to think like an engineer, that is extremely important, right? But the reality is getting good technically, there's no shortcuts. You got to be consistent. You got to study for 2 to 3 months every day. So I got good at doing coding interviews because I studied for about 2 to 3 months every day, right? If I missed a day, I made up for it. I had a plan and I followed that plan, right? That is how you get good, right? There's no shortcuts to that. I really wish there was, but there's not, right? And the best software engineers, they're always learning, they're always growing. Um, Getting good at behavioral and non-coding interviews, again, it's the same thing, right? If you want to get good, do more interviews, right? Do mock interviews. If you can't get an actual interview, do mock interviews. Practice with that, right? Understand. So when you're doing coding interviews, when you want to be a software engineer, there's an interview where you don't actually code, but they ask you questions about how you are a problem solver and how you would think like an engineer. So they may ask you conceptual questions like, oh, okay, what's an API? What's a database? What's right? They're gonna ask you questions to see like how deep does your knowledge really go, right? And you have to make sure you're studying that as well, so you know how to answer those questions, and you can easily tell them, oh, this is what this is, right? So usually, depending on the role you're applying for, they're gonna ask you different questions based on it. So if you want to be a backend engineer, which is somebody who works on like the backend side of code, more database related work, APIs and stuff like that, microservices, they're going to ask you questions related to that, right? So you got to know it, you got to understand it. Another thing is, again, taking initiative. Being somebody that takes initiative is important in any behavior interview, right? How do you get things done in any scenario? Um, Doing the STAR method. STAR method is really important in the interview process, which is situation, task, action, result, right? Number one way to answer a interview question, right? If you're an engineer, you're gonna have to show that trade-off of how you're able to problem solve and think like an engineer to come to that result. That's the difference when you're a software engineer. And then you want to ask really good questions. You want to show them that you're really interested in solving the problems that they're facing, and you can help them, right? You can actually add value. So all of this confidence at the end of it, this whole story, your resume, your ability to go through all the tests that the company has literally tells them, is this person going to help us solve this problem? Are we confident in that? Or are we not confident in that? That's literally what all this is about. Okay, cool. And then you summarize and sell how your experience will help them do that. It will help them solve problems. Cool. Okay. So the next one, this is the really hard one, right? This is the one I think a lot of people face is be where they are, right? Where are these companies? People are like always telling me, man, Ramel, it's so hard for me to get interviews. Like, I'm not really getting interviews. I'm just applying. That's because a lot of people, they're applying online. They're applying on the computer, but they're not actually connecting, right? They're not actually going through the real process. And I told y'all in the beginning, every job post is there's literally somebody behind it, right? So you have to tap into a certain network. You have to tap into a network of people if you want to get a job. You have to find these decision makers. We talked about the decision makers. We said recruiters, we said managers, and we said groups of people, groups of employees that make these decisions. Okay, cool. So now how do you be where they are, right? Being where they are, um, a lot of you guys already know people, or you already have a connection. Maybe you didn't even think about it, but you have a connection that you're connected to in your personal network. It could be friends or people in your family that maybe they're recruiters or they're hiring managers or they work at a company at a company that hires people in IT or hires people in tech. You probably already know somebody. Maybe you have a friend of a friend who works at some kind of company, right? And maybe you could ask them, you can talk to them and see if their company's hiring and see if they can help you to get in the interview process. A lot of us, we already have a connection, some level of connection to a company, right? But yeah, be where they are. Being where they are is extremely important. Um, okay, we're gonna go to the next slide. Okay, cool. Be where they are, right? A lot of times these connections that we have, friends of friends, or somebody that knows somebody that we actually can get in contact with those people, either they can help you directly, right? Or they can give you a referral or introduce you to a manager or a recruiter, which we call decision makers that work at that company, right? So this is why when people say a lot of this is about having a network, it is. Because when you have a strong network, you can literally tap into that network, find the right people you need to find, and get into the interview process, right? So here's some things to think about when you're thinking about network, right? And who can help you and either put you in the interview process or help you introduce you to someone who can potentially help you get into the interview process, right? Alumni at your college or university. A lot of times, right, we have alumni that are in management or in recruiting or they work at a company. Those people we can ask those people, okay, hey, would you be able to give me a referral? Could you introduce me to someone, a manager, right? We have LinkedIn, right? A lot of us are connected to people who make decisions. Or if we're not connected to those people, we can reach out to them, right? You probably need a good profile though, right? You don't want to look like you don't want to have like two connections, right? You want to have a profile picture. You want to be somewhat active on the platform and reach out to different recruiters and stuff. Okay, cool. What if you don't have any connections? Like, what if you really don't know anybody, right? You're like, I know no one. I have no connection. I'm always at the house. There's nobody I can contact. There's no friends of friends. There's no college alumni. There's no network. There's literally nobody. Okay, cool. Well, maybe you have to go out and build that network. A lot of people, a lot of people need to go out and actually build that network, right? You can literally start like today. You can start next week, right? How do you do that? You start going to places where these people are, which is generally it's hiring events, it's career fairs, it's tech conferences. I promise you, if you go on like Eventbrite, if you go on meetup.com right now and you type in tech or you type in software engineer online, wherever you guys are located, you will find an event happening very soon that you can go to. You can meet people who can actually help you get an opportunity or get an interview at one of the companies that they work for. I promise you, right? I was able to get jobs from going to these hiring events initially. That's how I got my first software job, right? I went to the NESB conference, which is the Society of Black Engineers, hundreds of companies there, so many recruiters. And, I went, spoke with different recruiters, and I was able to tell them a little bit about me, about my background, and that I was interested in working in their company. And I got an interview, right? And that interview worked out and it converted into a job, right? So I promised, like, these strategies work. I've seen them work for people. Um, the advice, the people who I've helped land jobs, this is how they got interviews, right? A lot of their interviews came from the network. It came from a referral. It came from going to a career fair or a conference or a hiring event, right? There's even other stuff. There's even organizations now that partner directly with companies. I don't know if you guys have heard of Color Stack, right? Or Color Stack is an organization, they partner with a lot of top companies. There's organizations like the Society of Women Engineers, partner with so many companies. Rewrite the Code, it's similar. A lot of women in technology. There is, right here, I have the Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers, right? There's a Society of Asian Scientists and Engineers. Literally anybody can join, and they have a huge conference every year. There's so many companies there. There's so many people who be happy to meet you and you can connect with, and they can make some of these decisions, right? They're decision makers that you need because you're looking for a job. Right? I promise. If you're going through the interview process and you're only doing it online, you're doing it wrong. You got to be making the real life connections. It changes everything. Um, and it worked. I've gotten multiple offers and a lot of interviews off of the network that I had that I built, right? Um, yeah, cool. Communication of your strengths, right? So we already said this, right? We said uh the first one was be what they want. The second point was be where they are. Cool. Now communicate your strengths well, right? How are you going to communicate your strengths well? Okay. You need to be what companies want regarding your skills, your experience. You need to make decisions. You need to bring them into your network, right? You need to find the decision makers, bring them to your network. Now you need to communicate your abilities extremely well. When you're dealing with companies, when you're dealing with companies, right? What are the areas that you need to actually communicate well, right? So those areas are the resume, your initial application, right? These little coffee chats or informal conversations. And then there's the formal interview, right? Any communication you have with somebody at a company is literally the communication that you are having with this company. Any communication, formal or informal. Okay. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Okay. So crafting a winning resume, right? So the resume is an advertisement of that gets decision makers excited to bring you into this interview process and learn more about you. Right. So I have a resume I'm going to share with you guys. During layoffs, it got me a job. It got me an offer from Mastercard during hiring freezes for like a mid-level engineer. I think I had like 2 years of experience. I think they wanted like five. This got me an offer. And the reason, um, if you look at it for about 5 seconds, you can kind of understand why, right? It showed that I met all the requirements, showed that I had all the skills that they were looking for, right? It showed that I was able to take an initiative. It had metrics of how I got things done. It used a lot of numbers, and it had leadership on it, right? So I'm going to share that resume in a bit for you guys. And pretty much every resume you send out should at least have this. It should definitely have this, right? A lot of people, they say don't use an objective statement. The reality is you want to have an objective statement because you can literally summarize your entire experience of why you're qualified for the job in about 5 seconds of somebody reading the resume, right? This was a back end job. So, it says I have years of experience in back end enterprise software, microservice software, 6 years programming experience in Java, all of this back end microservice experience, right? And experience on end to end and unit testing, right? Literally 5 seconds. You can read this. A lot of this stuff I use because this is exactly what they put in the job description. You can look at this 5 seconds and you're like, okay, cool. Check, 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 check. They wanted all of these skill sets. I think I copied and pasted these skills from the job description because that's what they wanted. Cool. And then obviously, Amazon helps. Um, but also what helps is metrics here, right? Resolved 100 plus critical customer issues as on call, working on AWS services. Achieved 50% reduction in system failures, cost savings of $380,000. Leveraged expertise in AWS distributed systems, Docker, Java, Python, all of that stuff, right? Everybody's resume is going to be different, right? But these are like some of the main points, some of the main components you need there. And obviously, you have to make sure your resume will pass through an ATS system. And here's the other point I want to get, right? If you don't have, like you haven't worked at a company, you're not going to have this experience. But what you should have, your resume should be a whole bunch of projects, right? It should be a whole bunch of relevant experience in projects that literally says pretty much the same thing as this, right? You have X years of experience in something in these different technologies that the company wants in their job description. It should have metrics, it should have numbers, and it should kind of clearly say like, okay, this person has done some stuff that's relevant, that's related, right? We shouldn't see anything about you working in retail. We shouldn't see anything that's not relevant, that's not related. It should specifically be only things that are related to this job. Cool. Okay. Well, I see people asking different questions. Oh man, I missed a lot of questions. Let me get back to the question. Nice. Yeah, I see it. There's a lot of questions in here. I'm gonna get to the questions at the end, okay? I'm just now seeing the questions. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second, trying to get to the next slide. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're gonna do it this way. So yeah, so in the actual interview itself, um, your goal is to make the interviewer confident that you have the ability to do the job well and you have the ability to add value to their team, right? That is literally the main core thing that they want. If they're confident that you're going to do the job well, you're going to perform as an engineer, you're going to solve a problem for them and you have the ability, right? You have a really strong shot at getting that job. What else? Showing that you're extremely interested in working in that company, right? Showing that you're passionate, showing that you did your research on that company. You can kind of, if you're spitting out facts, or if you're asking extremely specific questions that only somebody who's clearly a fan of that company, somebody who truly wants to work there would know is kind of what you need, right? You need to show that. You need to show that you're willing to work hard, you're willing to take initiative. As an entry level person, if you whatever you lack in technical skills, you got to lack in your ability to work hard. Um, right? You should know your resume in and out. You should be able to talk about any experience on your resume. You should be able to talk about it and do it quickly, right? Again, asking really, really great questions. And you should be able to tie your personal story into the company culture, whatever that is, right? And then doing a lot of practice, doing a lot of prep interviews is extremely important, extremely important. Um, we're gonna talk about this, and then we're gonna have someone else come and speak if they're ready. Um, a recruiter at a company is gonna come and he's gonna share his insights. Um, Day one Darius gonna come and share his insights if he is ready and open to that. But performing well in informal meetings are like really important, right? Because generally speaking, when you get when you go to any of these conferences, any of these events, right? Any networking event or whatever, or you get an introduction to somebody who's a decision maker, right? There's gonna be like some informal chat. It might be via email. You might actually be able to like have a short conversation with them in person, right? And in this, you're building your relationship. We're not even talking about a job, right? We're just talking about you have to focus on building that relationship with the person and be friendly with them, right? Get them talking. They're literally normal people, right? Regular people. They just are in a position where they can help you, right? They can make decisions, right? So you want to be friendly, right? You want to show that you're a good person to be around. You want to get them talking, learn little bit about them, right? And then you want to have your elevator pitch ready to kind of hit them with. Um, when when you have a little bit of comfort with them and talk about your experience, talk about the value that you're going to bring, show them that you've done your research on the company. And yes, when you're having a coffee chat with somebody or an informal meeting, you should make an ask at the end, whether it's for a referral, whether it's for support in the interview process or mentorship. You should be doing that. You should have an ask. So yeah. Um, Darius, let me know if you
I'm here and I'm ready.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Let me turn my screen off. But pretty much I guess in like, maybe 5 minutes or so, um, maybe just, tell us a little bit about you and then like just share like what you think is the main reason why early career talent is not landing jobs in technology and what they should know um that is like really important that maybe a lot of them are not doing and it's costing them a job.
No, Romel, first of all, thank you again for having me here. Um, uh, I've been working in big tech recruiting for over 5 years now, and I like to talk about three things that have been very impactful, and I think that will help anyone on this call. Number one, if you are fresh out of school or you have 1 to 2 or 3 years of experience, no matter what, it's very important to number one, understand the interview process. The interview process at any company is always going to be different. So if you're looking to interview at Meta or you're like Microsoft or Amazon or Capital One or Bloomberg or JP Morgan, the interview process is always different. The first thing you want to always do is make sure you understand which one of these processes are most important to you and which of them you're willing to go through. What I've noticed is that at large tech companies or big tech companies, there's a lot of time being spent on Leak Code or HackerRank, practicing the coding questions and going through that process. And maybe that's not for everyone on this call, but there are other companies who have a different style of interview process that can offer you similar benefits. So before you go into any interview process, number one is to understand the process. You don't apply, do your research. And I'm pretty sure anyone on this call understands the importance of research. Understanding, hey, I have a problem, I don't know how to solve it. And the best way to learn how to solve a problem is to go and understand how the problem has been solved before. Number two is, okay, let's say you decide you want to interview at a place like Amazon or Microsoft, you name it. Once you've done your due diligence of preparing for the interview, then you start to reach out to individuals who are engineers or managers at these companies. Because now that you've done your due diligence, you've done your research, you've done your homework, you've practiced, now you're ready to interview. What naturally happens is the work has not been done and the opportunity presents itself. So you find yourself in step two, which is a recruiter reaches out to you or you apply to a job and you receive this notification that says, "Hey, you we need you to complete some assessment in a very short period of time." Now, when you decide to do that, some people do well and most people don't. Ideally, you should be prepared for that question. So let's just say you're prepared for the question. Okay, we want you to complete this assessment. You do well on the assessment, or you have someone who was inside the company that can refer you to move you a little further down the line, and then you make it to the final round. Once again, it's very important to always focus on understanding the interview process and the expectations. And I'll say this again, the expectations of big tech companies like Meta, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, maybe Capital One are not the same as what we might consider, or what I like to think of as like tier two expectations in the interview. But the emergence of things like LinkedIn allow you the opportunity to go and speak with those people who went through the process and understand the expectations of what you might experience. So let's say you go through number one, you've done your research. Let's say you've gone through number two, you understand expectations and you've reached out to another engineer or manager and they put you through the process. Number three is, okay, now that I've graduated to the final round or the offer stage, is leveraging websites like levels.fyi. Understanding, okay, now that I've received this offer, how do I navigate this process? Am I receiving enough money? Am I open to going to these places? Am I receiving the experience that I want? And what I would challenge everyone on this call to consider is that you have to continue to think about what's important for you. What do you want from a compensation standpoint, from a location standpoint, from a team standpoint? Like you are in control of your career. So, as a basic example, let's say you receive an offer from Meta and they want to offer you $300,000 to move to the Bay Area. And you're working with a recruiter and they tell you, hey, well, we only have positions in the Bay Area, and if you're not willing to move to the Bay Area, that we can't do anything for you. That is not true. Let's say you would prefer to move to Austin or you would prefer to move to Seattle. It's important for you to continue building your network and understanding how this game is set up. Because at some companies, once you receive an offer letter, the offer is valid for 6 months. And when you know that, you can continue to find the things that you're looking for. And I would assume that and Ramel, you can maybe comment in the chat to help me, but I would assume there are a lot more individuals on this call who are maybe fresh out of college or have like less than 2, 3 years of work experience. For those individuals, what I would say is get very active on LinkedIn. Connect with engineers and managers who have been at the companies that you aspire to work for at least 2 years. Set up calls with those individuals. Learn about the things that they build. Learn about the things that they do. Help them understand how you can bring value to their organization. What this means is, as positions become available over a period of time, you will be top of mind for two reasons. Number one, they know you. Number two, you're active on the platform. And I'm going to assume that most people on this call understand algorithms very well. And if you continue to perpetuate the algorithm to understand that you're very good at what you do, the algorithm will continue to float individuals who are more likely to hire you. And to end this is that recruiters are not your point of contact. You want to connect with engineers and managers and directors who are focused on software development. Engineers, managers, directors focused on software development. And Ramel, I was just taking some notes on what you're talking about around like, you know, metrics, data, uh, what's your passion? Like put these things on your LinkedIn profile. Continue to be active on the platform. So it may not come today and it may not come tomorrow, but what will happen, and I promise everyone on this call, is that if you continue to drop content and you continue to add individuals who build things that you have a passion for, the algorithm will find you a job. That's all for me, Ramil.
Awesome. Now I appreciate you sharing that, Darius. Thank you so much, man. Round of applause for that. I think like there were some really good points. Um, Knowing the interview process, researching the interview process. Um, Once you research the interview process, um, pretty much after that, start reaching out to other people to really go further in the process and then know what you want, know what you're looking for. Thank you so much for that, Darius. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Um, there's somebody
Yeah,
I think we
go
know
ahead.
personally. Hmm?
No, I'm listening. I'm listening.
I think there's somebody me know personally. I think his name is William, and I believe he's doing a pretty good job at building his LinkedIn to meet as many people in tech as possible. I think we both know who that is.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, for sure.
yeah.
I just dropped a link in the comments. I'm not sure, of people's backgrounds, but there's a program through Carrot called Brilliant Black Minds that offers free mock interviews for Black talent um, prepping for interviews. So if anyone on this call is like, "Hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm at," no matter where you are in your journey, I strongly advise signing up for this program. But thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you, Darius. We really appreciate you stopping by. And if you have to go, if you have to you can't stay, that's perfectly fine. Thank you. Cool. And we can kind of get back to it. So yeah, cool. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Again, Darius, he's a recruiter at a FANG company, a FANG big tech company. Um, and yeah, he's just, he's somebody that I have in my network. Um, because you gotta have people in your network, right? Who share fun fact. I didn't know you get your offer is valid for 6 months. I just learned something new. So thank him. I appreciate him for that. All right, let's get back to it. So we went over the steps, right? Being what they want, being where they are, communicating it well. Now we're talking about organizing the process, right? And this is another area where people kind of mess up, right? People mess up when it comes to organizing the process. Organizing the process essentially allows you to track everything that needs to be completed, right? Tracking your interview preparation, which is the whatever knowledge you have to learn, right? You're tracking that. And also what you're doing to actually get a job, right? If you're applying to jobs, if you're reaching out to different people, if you've met different contacts, right? You should be tracking all of that, right? Because obviously you're not going to remember everything and you want to make sure that it's working in your favor, right? If you're going to be doing this for a few months. Okay. So yeah, the first thing you should be doing, you should be tracking all the jobs you apply for, right? You should be tracking everything. You should have some spreadsheet, name of the company, the positions you've applied for. You should be tracking to maybe the number, like the reference number or reference code, or just have a link to the position, so you know where you applied, right? And I know it could be like annoying, like if you get rejected or whatever, but it's something you want to know. Also, you could track your progress, right? You could see like, oh, I applied at first with this resume, when my resume was like this, then I made changes, and now I'm moving forward, I'm making progress after I like made some changes to my resume, right? So that needs to be tracked. There's some templates online. You should track the people you connect with at an organization, right? So if I was at an event and I met somebody who's looking for a job, I recommend like, hey, if they applied to any jobs or looking for any jobs, like write like, oh, I know this person, I know a few people who could possibly help me. Write their names in the profiles. Here's a template. Here's an example of a template somebody can have where they're able to track their progress, right? And this is like a random one online, but you have the company name and maybe you know somebody that works there, or you met some people, a position, location, salary, the link, maybe a deadline, and the status where you are, right? And the outcome. What happened? Did you get the job? Did you get ghosted? What happened? Right? This stuff is important. This is an actual one that I made for myself and I used. And obviously, I have company name and right, whatever stage I was in. Some of these companies I interviewed with. Um, right, people who I reached out with, teams, relevant teams that I wanted to work with, right? So I had like a lot of different information. Oh yeah, I got this offer, right? So most of the time I didn't hear back. And this is when the economy was good. 2021, did not hear back. But here I got the offer, right? Failed coding challenge, right? Hey, it is what it is, right? We failed. You track the process though. That's the most important thing. You track the process, so you know if you're improving or not. And it's just easy for you. You could really just focus and concentrate and be consistent. Um, right? You track your progress on it through the interview, and then you repeat and watch the process, right? Repeat and watch the progress. I'm sorry. Repeat it, watch the progress. So the most important thing, right? A lot of people everybody's not consistent. And if you're tracking it, you know whether you're consistent or not because you tracked it, right? If you haven't applied to any jobs lately or you haven't reached out to anybody lately, you know you haven't because you tracked it. You've been like, right? That's why it's extremely important. Um, One thing I've noticed in my experience too is, again, in the beginning of my job hunt, I think I was looking for a job at one point for like over a 3 month time period, 3 or 4 month time period, right? In product management, looking for product management jobs. All my applications got rejected immediately. Why? My resume was terrible, right? I didn't have much experience related to that. And my application wasn't strong since it was all software projects. In that same resume, I put that resume, blasted it out for software jobs, and I was able to get offers, right? So I was because I tracked the progress, I knew like, all right, as a product manager, your resume sucks. You need work. You gotta, that's not it. But as an engineer, it's good, right? So just experiment with that and yeah, organize the process. So even the job search, I'm sorry, even the study process, right? Darius, I love the point that he made where he said, know the company you want to work at. If you want to work at a big tech company like Meta, Facebook, Microsoft, right, you're gonna have to do a whole bunch of studying. But if you want to work at another company, like maybe like State Farm or something like that, be a software engineer, you're gonna have to study as well, but it's not, you don't have to study as much. But you need to know the interview process, right? So either way, make a study plan, know all the material that you need to learn, and you should have a plan, study over about, 2 hours. I'm sorry, 1 to 2 hours each day and be consistent. Keep a log, keep track of everything, right? Here's an example of a study plan, right? If you have 4 weeks to study, do an hour or two a day if you can, right? And the main goal is be consistent, track the progress, right? A lot of this stuff, it's not easy because it's simple, but it's not easy, right? Just be consistent, have a plan, be consistent, follow that plan and execute on it, right? That's what I did. That's how I ended up where I am today, right? Just having a plan. And I failed a lot, right? Failure is fun. Cool. Here's here's the most important part. Yeah, I can send the slides after this. Here's the most important part, right? Before we end it off, before we get into the Q&A and everything, we already talked, we said being what they want, right? We said be where they are. We said communicate it well. And we said organize the entire process, right? That is so important, guys. Organize the process. Keep track of everything. It changes things. Okay, cool. I think my favorite part is have a strategy. Have a strategy. This is something you're probably not going to hear. Maybe you don't know about this, right? You need to have a strategy to get a software engineering job. As an entry-level candidate, you need a strategy. There's two core strategies that I like to use, and they have worked extremely well. And strategy number one is to go for the low-hanging fruit, right? What does that mean? Go for the low-hanging fruit. Okay. That pretty much means instead of going for the hardest possible thing that we can try to get, right? The hardest opportunity that we can get. Let's go for something that's reasonable. Let's go for something that is in reach that we can get with a lot less effort. Let's do that. Let's start from there. Let's start with something easier, simple we can get with less effort. That's what low-hanging fruit means, right? If if you have a uncle or a cousin that has a small business and maybe they need somebody to help them with their technical needs or they need somebody to build them a website or manage their website or something, why you don't, start helping them out? That's a low-hanging fruit opportunity. You could put that on your resume. It could help you get to the next opportunity. Okay. So yeah, go for the low-hanging fruit, right? What's the best opportunity that you can get? Maybe you have a connection to there, right? Maybe the university you went to, they have a program and they partner with different companies, right? Maybe you know that you're very good friends with somebody in the recruiting office or that is working on that company. I'm sorry, working with that program, right? Or you're close with a professor, right? Low hanging fruit is about kind of seeing where you have an advantage. You have a high chance of success and kind of like executing on that. Where do I have a high chance of success? Cool. Where am I, have a high chance of being successful? Could be an alumni or leveraging a connection that you have. So I have an example here. An example is taking a job. If you're like a student and you have a good relationship with your professor, maybe your professor does research, asking that professor, hey, can I help do research? Can I help do engineering related work, software engineering related work? There's a good chance they're going to say yes. That is low hanging fruit, right? Or maybe low hanging fruit is going for a company where the interview process is a lot easier, right? Like what Darius said, right? If you're interviewing at Google versus if you're interviewing at State Farm for a software internship or entry software role, right? The interview process is going to be probably a lot shorter and a lot more straightforward at State Farm versus Google. Okay, cool. And then with the professor, getting a job with the professor, the interview process might be a conversation. Hey, professor, can I work here? Yeah, maybe you have a 10, 15-minute chat. And by the end of it, he's like, sure, you can start next week. And now you're a software researcher at some lab doing research. Cool. Easiest opportunity ever. Low hanging fruit. Cool. What's the next one? Strategy number two, right? One opportunity always leads to another bigger opportunity. One opportunity is always going to lead to another opportunity, and that next opportunity is a bigger one, right? It's always going to lead to a bigger opportunity. Always, 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 always. That's just how it works, right? The issue that we have is so if you look at this chart right here, right? This is if we're putting opportunities to get your entry level job, if level one is basic programming and level four is a job, we have a lot of people that are at level one who have basic programming understanding and they're looking for a level four opportunity and they're not getting it because they're trying to make such a huge jump and they're wondering why it's not working, right? It is so hard to go, if you're at level one, it's hard to go to level four. But I promise you, it's so much easier to go to level two and level three, right? So, all right, level one is if you have like maybe you just learned programming, like you have extremely basic understanding of programming. You took a few computer science classes, took a few programming classes or something, right? Did a class online. Cool, level one. So knowing basic programming, right, is not the same as getting a full-time job as a software engineer, right? It's two different things. It's hard to make that jump, right? So let's talk about everything else in between in detail, right? And how you can actually go from level one to level four, right? I know most of you, again, you probably haven't seen this before. Um, we put this together. Okay, cool. Level four opportunities. These are the four levels of opportunities when seeking tech jobs as an entry level. And yeah, I'll share this. I'll share this. So again, level one, basic computer science programming courses. Maybe you did intro to programming. Maybe you did data structures or some basic machine learning or something. Okay, cool. Level two. Okay, what's level two? Project-based classes, right? So maybe you did a class and you guys built a project. Awesome. That's a little better. Maybe you did a capstone project. Okay. It's getting a little better. Maybe you took a in-demand class. You learn like an in-demand tech skill, like full stack development or React or something, right? They walked you through it. You just followed the steps. They walked you through it. Cool. Even better, right? You have some in-demand skills. You got a level two. Okay. And then two A is about equivalent to level two, right? Two A is you did things to prove that you take initiative, right? And you're extremely interested. Like you became a teaching assistant, or you became a research assistant, or you're tutoring people in computer science. Or maybe you lead an organization, or you play an important role in an organization. Like, right? These are just clubs that I have, but it could be any kind of technology related organization that you did something in. Okay, 2B, small projects. Okay, cool. You're doing small projects. You're doing hackathons, you're doing stuff like that. 2B. Awesome. That is level two, right? Level three, cool. Getting an externship or like an on-site program. So these are generally programs that companies have where you go to the company and you learn about the company for maybe 1 day to 1 month. You learn about the company, you see what they do, and sometimes they teach you stuff. It's awesome. You meet recruiters, you meet people at the company. You're not in the company, you don't have a they didn't hire you, right? But you get a special treatment to learn about the company. Cool, awesome. Level three. That's level three. Level three B is when you're working on medium, large side projects, right? So that's what I did when I was trying to get my first job is I didn't get an internship and I would said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna give myself an internship. And we built like a big project, right? It was we built a big project. It was big enough to get us a job, right? So big project is maybe you built an app and you put it on the app store, right? I'm calling that a big project. I promise if you do that, you got a really good shot at getting a job. I know a guy, he made an app, put it on the Google Play Store, and now he works at Google, right? So I'm pretty cool with him. And level 3C, level 3C is awesome, right? There's a lot of programs and organizations right now that partner with these top tech companies. And when you do the program, you can get a job, right? So programs like CodePath and Ada Tech, MLT, Code 4060. These are all program. I actually might be saying that. I think it's Code 2040. I put that's wrong, but these are all programs that partner with companies. And at the end of it, if you do well, you can get an internship at a top company, at a Fortune 500 company. Why not? Why not do that? Right? Why not apply for those programs? Okay. And then there's even programs where they pay you, they teach you, and they place you in a job as a contractor. Companies like Reviture, GenSpark, there's a lot of different other ones that are popping up nowadays. Right. So this is to me is extremely critical. Like if you don't know all the types of opportunities that exist, it's gonna be hard. And then obviously level four is full-time internship or apprenticeship role at a company. The reason it converts into a full-time job, it can convert into a full-time job. You can leverage that experience, right? So this is literally like just having this strategy. I promise it changes everything. Um, and I've followed this. Most people I know, they can link their success to this exactly, right? They figured out how to get from level one to maybe level two or level three, and they ended up at level four, right? And level four is where you want to be. That's a job, right? And okay, that is about it, right? That is the presentation I have today. Um, let's do Q&A. I know that took a little longer than expected. Um, but yeah, let's do Q&A. I want to hear like what questions do you guys have? Um, yeah, we went over a lot. May you please send the slides? Yes, I may. Oh, if you have a question, feel free to unmute to ask your question. We're gonna start off. Who's here? I know this is not fair, but I'm gonna go backwards just because it's easier. Marco. Marco asked, if you were to include anything on your resume, not specifically related to the job posting, what would you include? I think you would want to include something that's gonna like actually help your chances of getting the job. Like, let's say, well, first off, for the most part, I don't really think you should have anything that's not really related to the job. Right? Like, again, I keep saying like if you're in retail or you work in like you had a job completely unrelated, that shouldn't be on your resume. Um, I think everything should either be related or it should help you look better, right? So perfect example is like if you if you want to show your leadership, right? Maybe it means something like that. Like if you led an organization, I think that is worth putting on your resume. And maybe this organization like set up career fairs or it did something to help people. and maybe people got jobs or something like that. I think something like that, in a way, you could say it's not related, but the reality is it shows that you take initiative, right? So what I would do is if I had anything on my resume that wasn't directly related, it needs to show that you take initiative and you get things done. And getting things done is like shows that is by showing you made impact in something. So that's what I would have. Um, yeah. Jesus asked, how can I provide value when connecting to those mentors, engineers I want to connect with? Um, I think I don't know. I think it's hard to provide value. I think sometimes people want to help other people, right? And the value you're providing them is literally treating them like a mentor, like letting them know, hey, um, I need help, and I believe that you have the knowledge and you have the capacity to support me and help me. And if you help me, I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna like take this help, right? I think a lot of people don't listen and they don't really like take help. So just by you doing that is really helpful. We don't always have value to like the value that you're gonna add is not the same, but it might be great value in terms of making them feel good. It's kind of like when this is probably not the best example, but when you go and like help people for charity, right? You help less fortunate people or you do something for charity, maybe it's a coat drive or something. Generally, you feel good because you feel like, wow, I just helped somebody, and now this person is going to be in a better position. I think asking for help, a lot of them they've been in a similar position, so they are going to be willing to help. You just got to be respectful of their time. You have to understand that they might be busy, that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, make them feel good and don't ask for too much. I think that's probably the main thing. Don't Their time is valuable. Respect their time. Do I need to include keywords from the job description, even if I don't have knowledge on those technologies? So the thing is, if you don't have knowledge on the technologies for that they're asking about, I don't think you should put it on your resume because you don't have experience in that. You get what I'm saying? If a company's asking, hey, do you have experience using Java? Or I don't know if they're asking, do you have experience using Docker? And you're like, man, I have no idea what Docker is. Personally, like, yes, it may increase if you're like, yeah, I have Docker, you put that on your skills section. Like, it may help you get an interview, but when you get to the interview and then they find out you don't know Docker, um, that could be a problem, right? So I don't think if you put something on your resume, I think you need to have experience in it. To me, experience can be like maybe you worked with it a little bit, right? You've used it for a few hours. I think if you use something for a few hours or you spend a few days learning about it, I think that's safe to put on your resume. But yeah, if you have no idea what it is, you didn't do it. It shouldn't be on your resume, in my opinion. Um, yeah, but thanks for asking the question. Um, and we have Supriya. When should I start applying for full-time jobs? Okay. Is it okay to apply for full-time positions 5 months before graduating? Since companies don't usually specify the joining date in their job descriptions, I want us to know if this is acceptable. So, Supriya, thanks for asking that question. Companies are going to start their interview process around now. A lot of companies, I want to say like tech companies like Microsoft, if they haven't released their application yet, they're gonna release it either this month or next month, right? So yeah, if you're graduating in 5 months, you need to start applying now. Correct. That's correct. Um, yeah. Because the idea is you would prefer to have you got to remember there's the people who have internships this summer at these companies, they're gonna get their return offers pretty much into the summer. And I guess whatever is left is going to be the open positions. Whether they accept or decline those offers, that's going to be the open positions that are going to be left for new grads, right? So yeah, 5 months is not very long to have a full offer. I've known people who had offers like, I don't know, maybe like 9 months, right? They got a return offer and they graduated in like May, 9 months away with using books of. Okay, here's another question by Shamari. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Shamari, would using books suffice as knowledge and experience in particular tools, technologies? I really prefer reading books or documentation. Yeah, I think reading Shamari, I think reading books counts as having some experience in it. At least for like the resume side, right? If you read about it, if you're somewhat knowledgeable in a technology, you can speak on it. Yeah. I think that counts as having some level of knowledge and I guess experience. However, again, when you get in the interview process and they ask you, hey, Shamari, what experience do you have working in this technology? And your answer to them is, I read the documentation or I read a book, right? They may have follow-up questions regarding like, okay, well, you want to be a software engineer. We would prefer for you to have uh, worked in that technology, right? But again, I think it could still work. There's certain things you can always word it like, hey, I don't have a lot of direct experience with it, but I've learned about it. I'm knowledgeable of it. I read on it, and I know how to implement this, right? Or I know how to learn how to do so, right? So you can spin that and say that you can still add value, right? So I'm scrolling up. D Green said, I was an L4 as an apprentice at Amazon. That is awesome. And that D got to level 4. So hey, when I say level 4, I'm talking about level 4 in the strategy, right? Level 4 is pretty much getting a full-time job, internship, or apprentice role at a company, right? D got an apprenticeship at Amazon. That's incredible. Um, let's see. Darius showed a link. Yes, this is mainly early career. Okay. Somebody said, can we use ChatGPT for building resumes? If yes, how effective is that? If no, are there other resources that can be used for building resumes? Um, I think you can use ChatGPT to build your resume to help you, right? But you have to know what you need in the resume, right? So we went over some of it, like having the metrics, having a summary at the beginning. Um, what else? Having all the opportunities to show that you take initiative. I think you should, before you go to ChatGPT, obviously ChatGPT can't create experiences that you've never done, right? So you have to have some base resume, and then you can have ChatGPT like improve upon that and maybe fix wording and um, help you with metrics and stuff. Somebody said my resume wasn't clear. Can I send it? I can. I can share this out. Reaching out to someone of importance that can get me to the next level. How can I add value to? Oh, okay, we already did this. How do we tap into this network that you're referring to? So I'm not sure what that question was about. Um, what's the difference between applying to internships and applying to new grad? Generally, when you apply to an internship, the interview process is going to be easier because you are currently a student. And then as a new grad, they're hiring you full time. Internship, temporary hire, they get to test you out, they get to see how you're going to perform. If you meet the bar, generally you get a full-time offer. If not, you don't get an offer. So new grad interview process is generally a little bit more difficult at some places. Some places is about the same. Okay, in this scenario. Somebody asked, in this scenario, let's say I have backend experience with Java, Spring, and AWS, but front end experience like React, not so much. Is it worth applying? I think, yeah, I would say yes. I think it's always worth applying. I think people should definitely apply, right? But you kind of have to test things out to see, like, okay, if you don't get the job or if you're not getting results you want, maybe not. Maybe you have to improve your resume more. Maybe you have to change a few things. Um, am I looking forward to? Oh, okay. And I think that's all the questions. That's all the questions that we had. Here's another thing, right? Before we close this thing out, I wanted to bring up, I really forgot to bring this up earlier, or I don't want to say forgot, but at Phi Jump, right, we have a membership program, right? And we went over a lot of stuff in a short period of time, right? Sadly, that's kind of how it has to be sometimes. At Phi Jump, we have a membership program, and this membership program is gonna really, break a lot of the stuff that we went through down to really help people over a series of months actually land a job in software engineering, right, at a really good company, right? We have, yeah, this is the membership program. Today, I shared like a free masterclass, but the membership program we are launching next month, it is going to be a paid program, right? It is going to be something that is like a serious program, but it's going to help you a lot. And pretty much within this program, you're going to be coached on a weekly basis, right? So we're going to meet with you, myself and other engineers at top tech companies. We're going to meet with you on a weekly basis in a group mentoring session, and we're going to have a talk. We're going to have a conversation and share our advice. You're going to be able to ask questions. Um, we're going to meet every week, and you're going to gain a lot of knowledge and learn. We're going to give you an entire roadmap to actually landing a job in software engineering, right? From start to like, your first 90 days. You're going to follow that, and we'll meet to see how your progress is going, right? Give you all the advice that we can. We're going to bring in different professionals that work in tech, like Day One Darius, who again, he's a recruiter at a FANG company, and he has a lot of insight that other people do not know about. We're going to bring people like that in. We're going to bring engineers at top companies in to share their insights and share their experiences, right? You're going to be able to build your network as well, right? You could maybe add them on LinkedIn. Um, Weekly coaching. And, by the end of it, right, you're going to build confidence building your resume, building a strong resume, really good. You're going to build confidence in interviews because we're going to actually show you how to prepare and prep for technical interviews, right? Which is we're gonna hold you accountable because we're gonna meet every week and we're gonna ask you like, hey, did you do the work? We're gonna know if you didn't do the work, and we're gonna get on you. We're gonna be like, hey, you need to do the work, right? This is a serious program. But by the end of it, right, it's all love. By the end of it, you're gonna be strong, you're gonna be confident, and you're going to be able to get more interviews and hopefully land a job, right? And we're gonna move you up on that level, right? If you're at a level one, we're gonna move you up in the process. So if you're interested in learning more about our coaching program, the program is we're gonna have a lot of like people in this program as far as like recruiters and software engineers, and we may have a engineering manager in the program to help. So it's not gonna be cheap, right? It's not gonna be a cheap program, but I promise it's gonna be worth it. And space is limited, right? We're only taking about like 20 people into this program. So if you're interested in learning more, you can reserve a spot. To reserve your spot, it's like $90 just to reserve a spot. Um, and if you want to just, set up a chat with me to learn more about our program, I'm gonna put the link here, but you can set up a call with me and, we can talk more about what this program is. We can talk about the specifics. Again, there's only 30 spots left, right? We don't have a lot of room. A lot of people signed up for this event, and I think I may have like sent the email out wrong or something. So I think we had almost 300 people sign up and, less people showed up. So we're probably going to do another event. But I appreciate you all for joining. And if you want to learn more about our membership program, please, set up a call um, with me. I'm doing calls like this next week. Um, and then if you want to like reserve your spot for a master class, you come on the website and you reserve your spot. And yeah, I'm gonna make sure there's any new questions. And yeah, so let's see. Let me see. Somebody said I feel like applying for jobs outside the country you reside in, having very little chance of getting into the interview process right now. Like 95% of jobs I apply for outside of the country are rejected like immediately. It can be 2 hours after applying. Is it the case or is it because I just don't meet the requirements? Well, a lot of these companies, they do want to hire. If they're posting it on the website, like you can see what country the job is located in. So yeah, if somebody's not, you know, they might even say in the job description, you must be authorized to work in X country, right? So yeah, if that's a requirement you don't meet, then that you don't meet the requirements pretty much, right? You might have the technical skills, but in the job description it says like they want to hire somebody in this country who's authorized to be in this country, right? So I would find jobs where you are authorized to work. And there's jobs that exist like that. The next said, asked the question, what's the most important thing to get noticed for the interview? Is it education? Is it experience? Is it good networking? Okay. And how to gain experience via network to go from level 1 to level 2, 3. Programs and interns, mostly just focusing on computer skills to prepare. So let's answer the first question, right? What is the most important thing to get you noticed for a interview, right? Everybody wants to hire somebody that is working already. Like, but everybody wants to hire somebody who's already working hard, right? If you see a student that is like extremely hardworking, like, maybe he's taking a lot of classes. Maybe he's taking extra classes, or maybe this person leads an organization, or they're tutoring, or they're helping other students to learn different concepts and stuff like that. It shows character, right? It shows that you're a noble person, that you're a helpful person, that you're a hardworking person, right? So when you're networking, right, and even on your resume, right, these things should be there. This all paints the story of you and the value you add. Um, yeah. So, but your question was, how do you get noticed? You get noticed by being showing that you have experience, or showing that you're like, you are somebody who's working hard and who is taking every opportunity they can to get to your goal. But also networking. Networking is the most important thing. To be honest, there's kind of nothing more important than networking, because if you are connected with somebody, right? Let's say you had a good relationship with Day One Darius, who just got here. He's a recruiter at a top company, right? He knows the whole process. You can literally ask him questions. He probably knows engineers that you can meet, and you can ask those engineers questions if he connects you with those people, right? And then you can probably get in some form of either interview process there, or you use that advice and you can apply it and get an interview at another company. So the network is more important. But the question is this: why would Day One Darius help you? That's the question you really should be asking yourself. Why would why would somebody want to network with me? I see this guy who's helping a lot of people. He seems like he can help me, but why would he want to help me? Right? And what I'll say is this, right? People want to help people who they see that are working hard, and they kind of believe that this person would have found their way there either way. right? So if I see somebody sitting down, sitting back, they haven't done anything, they haven't started, like maybe maybe they even don't even know how to program, and they're like, "Hey, I want to work at this company," and they want to have a sit down and a conversation. To be honest, there's not much to talk about. If they haven't done anything, it's like I'm probably not gonna have another conversation with that person until they can come back and be like, hey, I've been working hard these last 5 months. I took classes, I learned this, I worked on projects, I did hackathons. I need to see some initiative so that I want to help you. Right. So the better question is like, why would somebody want to network with you? Um, and you want to make sure you have that down pat. Okay. And then how do you gain experience from a level one to a level two and a three? Gaining experience, going from level one is basic programming to a level two or level three is you pretty much, look for opportunities, right? You take level one if you know basic programming. To get to level two, it's like, okay, now I'm gonna learn something harder. I know how to do basic programming. Now I'm gonna learn full stack development. I'm gonna work on a whole project. Now this might take months to go through this whole course. And by the end of this course, you would have built a full stack project. Or maybe you become a teaching assistant, a tutor in computer science, a research assistant, right? You do something that shows you have initiative, or you lead an organization that helps people hire, in technology somehow. Or if you don't lead it, you have a high up role, or you help out a lot very well in that organization. Or you start doing hackathons, you start doing side projects. It's about taking initiative. That's what it's about. That's how you get there. And then there's so many like programs that train you and teach you how to do stuff these days. You got to look them up. You got to research it. Um, what else? So yeah, that's how you do it, Dinesh. Then do company portal applications work? Or do referrals play a major role in securing an interview call? Referrals do you have a better shot at getting a job if you get a referral, 100%. Because when you get a referral, it generally means, hey, somebody who actually works at the company is saying this person has the skill sets to qualify. And I know that because I know them personally and I'm vouching for them. So yeah, you have a better shot at referrals. But if the company's big, it might not help too much with the referrals. Um, but there are different tips and tricks that you can do to help people out. Right. I've helped people get interviews at these companies, right? But I prefer to help people get interviews who I know have a good shot of making it through the process, right? If I don't feel comfortable, like if I feel like the person they didn't put in the work, I'm sorry. I may not give them a referral if I feel like they didn't do what they needed to do, or they're not gonna make it far. Okay. Oh, okay. Someone said they can't access the event on Calendly. Why is that? Oh, I might have put the wrong link for Calendly. Okay. Okay, cool. There is our Calendly. Awesome. And if anybody has a question, like you could unmute. Anybody wants to unmute, ask a question before we hop off? Uh, feel free. Cool. Well, if that's everything, I want to thank you guys for joining today. I really appreciate everybody hopping on this call and listen to this masterclass presentation that we had. We covered a lot of information. Um, I hope it was very helpful, very impactful, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day, right? Keep hunting, keep working hard, right? Anything worth getting is not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy process, and that's fine. right? But I promise you, it's so much better on the other side, and you're gonna feel good pushing yourself to get to that end goal. All right, y'all have a good day, and I will see you soon. Bye. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.